Hello, hello, hello. Hi, my good people of the Book of the Face today. I apologize. I was sitting and getting my thoughts together and going through my last minute going through my notes and didn't realize time had creeped past me. A couple minutes late. I do apologize if you were waiting. Did not mean to hold you up. Let's see if I can get this focused. Get that big old head in this frame. I think they got it. All right. Hello, person. I can't see who it is, but hello, somebody's there. Hope y'all having a wonderful Monday. It's raining a little bit over here where I'm at. But you know what they say? April showers bring May flowers. So it's bound to happen. So again, I apologize. I'm probably going to go ahead and just jump on. I got to do a little bit of a review anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this. Just get this little review out the way, and just over the next couple of minutes, whoever come in. If not, we're just part by ourselves. All right, get this straightened up. Sometimes I think I straighten it up and then it look like it moves again. All right. So again, hello everybody. Hope y'all are having a wonderful Monday. Last Monday in April. So the year get on by. It's 4 months down already. Next thing you know, I'm gonna be a granddad. Oh, I am a granddad already. Dang, that's messed up. I think it is moving. Let's see if I can tighten this. Hold on, y'all. I don't know who messed with that. That shouldn't be doing that. All right. Maybe that'll keep it. Anyway, so appreciate everybody being here tonight. I'm, of course, Brother John Stewart on behalf of Lost Sheep Ministries, sponsored by River Lake Baptist Church. Here to bring you a lesson tonight on faith to get the victory. I know we had got over, y'all saw my post. I know I'm posting, I put the title. And y'all know we've been doing this faith to get the victory. It's been a long series, and I do recognize it's been a long series, but we're close to finish. We know with this lesson and maybe one more, we should be done. I'm gonna try to get most of it done tonight, to be honest. And like I said, we probably gonna have to do one more because the last little piece of the chapter is kind of thick. It got a lot in it. But I'm going to condense some things, and we're going to try to see if we can get through this lesson. But that's why I kind of stepped away for a little bit, and we went over to that trash to treasure lesson, and gave y'all a little bit of a break from Samuel. But we got to get back in it, man. It's Old Testament, but man, it is a lot of stuff here. I've been this lesson here in particular. We've been on for like 9 weeks, 9 different lessons. This is going to be lesson number 10. And I think this all has been very helpful. If it's at least it's helped me bring the lessons out. I'm hoping it's helped you. I know a lot of people have reached out to me as I've been doing this series that is talking about how it's helped them restore their faith and get the faith they need to get the victory as well. So I'm just going to continue to do it. We started this around the beginning of the year, and we're still here. Like, of course, we stepped away a little bit here and there, but I want to go and get this finished up. So you guys can have all the tools you need, all the action items you need to have the faith to get the victory. So again, Brother John Stewart on behalf of River Lake Baptist Church, sponsored by the Lost Sheep Ministry, and I appreciate y'all being here tonight. So what I'm gonna do, since we did step away and do the trash and treasure for a few weeks. So since we stepped away, I'm gonna go back through all the faith the action items that I have so far. I'm not going to re-preach them. I'm just going to kind of state them as we get into the lesson, because we actually going to have a couple of references from our the old lessons tonight. Just going to come up. So I'm just going to, so again, this is a lesson I started at the beginning of the year, January, for New Year's. And I was talking about how we need to focus on getting the faith to get the victory, how we need to focus on our relationship instead of making New Year's resolutions and doing all kind of things to lose weight and do this and do that. How we need to focus on strengthening our faith so we can have a close relationship with the Lord. And that's what started this lesson. Like I said, I started this at the beginning. I think it was the very first lesson I did of the year. And we're still trying to get through it. And like I said, this is a nice lesson. I'm going to get the majority of it done, finished up tonight, and we might have one more just to kind of clean everything up and bring everything together. But I started back, so so far there's been 8 things that I told. The first lesson was just about faith in general, so it wasn't an actual point. So if you want to watch any of these lessons, of course, you can scroll down my Facebook page or you can look at my YouTube page. If you didn't get the first few lessons in the series, and one of these topics sound interesting to you, make sure you look back, scroll through my YouTube page or my Facebook page, and you can find those lessons. So so far there's been 8 action items I've given you that if you do these things, it would allow you to have the faith to get the victory. Number 1, you got to be willing to stand alone. Now, the situation we're in, you got your Bible, you're going to follow along. We're going to be in 1 Samuel chapter 14 is kind of where this lesson is taking place. And the real quick situation was Jonathan, which was Saul's son, him and his armor bearer, they went out and attacked this contingent of soldiers, Philistine soldiers that was at war with the Philistines. And the only people that Israel was such a bad place that the only people that had weapons was Saul and his son. They was the only 2 that had swords. So Saul's son, Jonathan, and his armor bearer by themselves went and they attacked this garrison of Philistine soldiers, and they end up getting the victory. And so what I've been doing, I've been going through that chapter and picking out the little action items, little things that Jonathan did that allowed him, that showed that he had enough faith to get that victory. So the first thing we saw was you got to be willing to stand alone. So again, we're going to see this is going to come up a little bit tonight, as well as a reference. We saw what Jonathan and Saul and his father Saul had 600 some soldiers. They had a contingent of soldiers themselves, a garrison of soldiers themselves, but they was all sitting around moping because they was afraid of the Philistines. So Jonathan and his armor bearer, they went out and they did something about it, and they ended up getting the victory. So again, I taught be willing to stand alone. Now again, if y'all remember when I did that lesson, I'm not saying you have to stand alone. Of course, when you do God's work, you do any kind of work, you're going to need some help along the road in this life. So I said, so I'm not saying stand alone, just forget everybody and just you and God just go at it. No, find you some people with like faith, and that's one of the other points. Find some people with like faith that's going to motivate you to do better, and it's going to push you to do better. But if you can't find anybody else, that don't mean you don't stop doing the work. That's why I say be willing to stand alone. So that was number 1. Number 2, make sure you are the right lineage. In other words, make sure you are saved. If y'all remember with the lesson from last week that I did on the trash becoming treasure, we saw how Rahab, the prostitute, ended up becoming like the great grandmother of Jesus, because she gave her life over to God and she started believing in God instead of believing in the pagans, the pagan idolatry that she was in before the whole situation with Jericho. So that's what I talked about in point number 2. Make sure you are the right lineage. Number 3, you got to be willing to put the work in. You got to be willing. If you're going to serve God, if you're going to have a close relationship with God, you're going to serve God, there's going to be some work to be done. You know what I'm saying? What up, Corey? I'm good, bro. Hope you're doing good, man. It's been a while. I've been keeping an eye on you on Facebook and see you doing your thing, bro. Keep doing your thing. I'm keep doing mine. But, man, good to hear from you. Hope you're okay. Miss Ashley, see you here. Hope you're having a good one. I can't see the other person. Look like somebody else here, but I can't see the name. But I appreciate you guys being here. So again, number 3, be willing to put in the work. There's going to be some work. If you're going to serve the Lord, if you're going to have a close relationship with the Lord, there's some work to be done, and you got to be willing to do that work. Number 4, you got to trust in God's word and strength and not man's. Get in your Bible. If God make a promise that he's going to do some stuff, he's going to do some stuff. And now, of course, we talked about in the treasure lesson, don't try to hold God's feet to the fire over a promise if you're not doing your part. You got to do your part. You got to be obedient and follow commands and things of that nature. But, there's several promises in the Bible. And if you get in the Bible, find those promises, you be able to trust in God's word. Number 5, surround yourself with others of like faith. And that's what I was talking about. Number 1, of course, be willing to stand alone. But what you should be doing is looking for people that has the faith like yours, that you can, that like I said, that support you. It's just like if you pull a log out of a fire, when the log's in that fire, it's going to burn bright. When you put that log out by itself, it might burn for a little bit, but eventually going to go out. And that's why it's so important to be around people of like faith, because they can keep that fire going in you and you can do the same. That's why the Bible say iron sharpens iron. So it's good to have people surround yourself of people with like faith. Number 6, for those of you who just came in, I'm just going through, we're back into Faithful to Victory, the series, and I'm just going through the ones we've covered already because it's been a few weeks since we've been here. So number 5, again, surround yourself with others of like faith. Number 6, you got to be willing to accept God's will. And we actually talked about that one in the Trash or Treasure, but that's very important. Be willing to accept God's will, because you never know what God's will is going to lead you. You never know what God's will is going to take you to. So you got to be willing to accept God's will. Number 7, let your actions lead others to victory. You know, and of course, which is Christ. You know, when you call yourself a Christian, when people see you, when you call yourself a Christian, and it's something I pray for all the time, people that call themselves Christian, when you call yourself a Christian, the way you live your life, the decisions you make, and the things you do, people should be able to see that you are a Christian, and they should want that. They should want some of what you have, because they know that if they follow you, it will lead them to the victory. So that was number 7. And then number 8, which is the last one we covered when we was in this series, was you can't forget, don't forget the battle is the Lord's. You know, every battle that you face, everything that you go through as you try to serve the Lord, as you try to do the work that the Lord has for you to do, those are God's battles. You just need to make sure you show up. If you show up, He's going to show out. So don't forget that. Don't forget these are not your battles. These are God battles. So when you show up, make sure you bring Him with you. And if you do, you're going to get the victory. So those are the first 8 action items that I've given you so far, and on things that you should do, you can do if you want to have enough, build your faith so you get the victory over everything that you're going through in your life. So that's where we was at. We ended in 1 Samuel chapter 14, verse 16 was the last one that we read. So that's what we're going to pick up at. Actually, I'm probably start reading in verse 16. Read this verse 16, and we're going to start tonight's lesson. So again, that was just a quick review for those of you that just came in. That was a quick review, and now we're going to get started on tonight's lesson. And of course, the title overall of the series is Faith to Get the Victory. We got 2 more, y'all. 2 more, we'll be finished this up. We'll finish this up. And like I said, I'm trying to get a large chunk of it done tonight. And then I'll finish it up, clean everything up, and bring everything together in the next lesson. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pray so we get started. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for watching over us today. Thank you so much for another opportunity to get in your word, Lord, another opportunity to honor and glorify your name, another opportunity to get the things done that we need to get done, to get where we need to be according to your will for our life to this day. I thank you so much for this Lost Sheep ministry and putting it on my heart. I thank you for the faithfulness of the people that tune in on a Monday night. You know, they just had church last night, and then they coming back for some more tonight, Lord. And some of them might not have had church last night. This might be the only church they give. But for whatever reason they're here, Lord, they're here to hear your word and to get a word of encouragement. So I pray you send your spirit down upon my heart to give me the wisdom to find the right words to say that encourage your people and more importantly, motivate them that want to do the work that you have for them to do, that want to find your will for their lives and live that will, Lord. And I pray you send your spirit down upon their heart as I bring these truths out so they may use these truths in their life. Bring them under conviction, Lord, so they may have a desire to do those things that you have for them to do and want to walk that path that you have for them to walk so they can live their life to honor and glorify you. We just as always, Lord, we ask you to send your spirit down upon this session. Use me in these words in this time in a mighty way to honor and glorify your name and actually build your kingdom, and guide this lesson and guide this session in the direction you want it to go so it may honor and glorify you, build your kingdom, and we may be able to leave this session tonight a little bit closer to you than we was before we started. We love you so very much and thank you for all you've done and given, and we say this prayer in your wonderful Son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right. I apologize about my cup. Apparently it is as loud as I thought it was. My wife's like, why don't you fix the straw? I've done everything to fix the straw, and I can't. Y'all might be like, well, just get your new. I can't. My daughter gave it to me for like Father's Day or my birthday, so I can't get rid of it. So y'all just have to deal with it. It's so embarrassing, though, when I'm at like lunch or something, and I be like, and everybody always look at me like, what the hell is that? That's my cup. I can't help it. Baby girl gave it to me, so we just got to roll with it. But anyway, thank y'all for joining tonight. We're going to be over here in 1 Samuel chapter 14. We're going to start in verse 16. And again, we're picking up on the lesson that we have been doing since the beginning of the year. And I stepped away from it for a few weeks just to kind of give you guys a break because it has been a long series. But I don't want to skip it. I want to finish the series up because, again, there's some more important things there. There's some important things in here to talk about. And a couple of the points the 2 points that we'll go through tonight are very big points. So again, we're going to be in 1 Samuel chapter 16, chapter 14, verse 16. And as always, I'll let you guys know if you're reading along with me And mine is not saying the same thing you're saying. It's probably because I'm reading a New Living Translation. If you want those King James only people, I apologize. I do believe in King James. That's the Bible I read, but I do my lessons out of New Living Translation. It's just a lot easier for me to break everything down. So I do it out of the New Living Translation, and I hope that don't bother you. But if it do, then I don't know what to say. I hope the Spirit touch your heart and give you the want to stay in here anyway. But with that being said, I'm gonna start over here in verse 16. And in verse 16, the Lord tells us this, and this is the kind of the end of last lesson. So remember the situation. Jonathan and his armor bearer went off. They went in and attacked this garrison of Philistine soldiers, and they went over there and they ended up getting the victory. Matter of fact, I'm gonna start reading in instead of starting right there at 16, I'm gonna start right there around 12. Because we're starting to see the victory. Y'all see, you know what I'm saying? We're starting to see why I named this faith to get the victory. How you doing, Miss Alicia? Glad you made it in here today. I appreciate you being here. So he said, I'm starting verse 11. So he said, when the Philistines, the Lord tells us this, he said, when the Philistines saw them coming, they shouted, look, the Hebrews are crawling out of their holes. Then they shouted to Jonathan, come on up here and we'll teach you a lesson. Come on, climb right behind me, Jonathan said to his armor bearer, for the Lord will help us defeat them. So that gave us point number 7, which is, leading the way. I forgot I said it earlier, leading the way that it lead others to the victories. Then it's living the way that lead others to victory. So then verse 13, it says, so they climbed up using both hands and feet, and the Philistines fell back as Jonathan and his armor bearer killed them right and left. They killed about 20 men in all, and their bodies were scattered over about half an acre. Suddenly, panic broke out in the Philistine army, both in the camp and in the field, include even the outposts and the raiding parties. And just then, an earthquake struck, and everyone was terrified. Saul's lookout in Geba saw a strange sight. A vast army of Philistines began to melt away in every direction. And of course, that was number 8. Number 8 was, we got to remember, it's the Lord's battle. No, God did this. Jonathan went over there, him and just his armor bearer only had one sword between them. They killed 20 dudes, and then all of a sudden the whole army scattered. And then in the midst of all that, an earthquake happened, and it was apparent that God showed up in that battle. And that's because Jonathan had the faith to take God with him. So then the next line it says, and this is where our lesson going to start. So then the next line it says, find out who is in here. It says, so Saul's lookouts in Geba saw a strange sight. The vast army of Philistines began to melt away in every direction. Find out who isn't here, Saul ordered. And when they checked, they found that Jonathan and his armor bearer were gone. So that's a reference back to number 1. I told you I was going to be a couple of references. That's a reference back to number 1, be willing to stand alone. See, Saul had to look and see who wasn't there because he assumed everybody was there because he assumed everybody at level, he was the leader, and he assumed that everybody had the same faith that he had. Which you can see at this point, he didn't have much faith because he was sitting around, him and his other army people were sitting around whining and complaining, and Jonathan was over there putting some stuff, some faith into action and getting the victory. So he had to go and see who wasn't there. And when he went and saw who wasn't there, when he inquired to see who wasn't there, he saw Jonathan and his armor bearer was gone. So again, those was the only two that had enough faith to get that victory. And that's why I say you got to be willing to stand alone. You should go with somebody else. You see, Jonathan, he actually had his armor bearer with him, so he wasn't completely alone. But when you compare just those two, when they had another army of 600 other men, basically they were alone. So again, you know what I'm saying? Be willing to stand alone. That's a reference back to our very first point in this lesson. So then in the next verse 8, it says, now this is where our first point for tonight is going to come from. So then verse 8, it says, then Saul shouted to Ahijah, bring the ephod here. For at that time, Ahijah was wearing the ephod in front of the Israelites. But while Saul was talking to the priest, the shouting and the confusion in the Philistine camp grew louder and louder. So Saul said to Ahijah, never mind, let's get going. So number 9. So first of all, before I give you the point, you got to understand what an ephod is. And I probably mispronounced that, but you know what I'm saying? Y'all, if you can do better, you read it yourself next time. But an ephod is basically this thing they use to talk with God. It was almost like flipping a coin almost. When I read and when I study on it, it was almost like some things they would use it and it would kind of determine which way they would go. Like if the thing went this way or if this happened, I don't know how they read it. They didn't. I didn't actually see a picture of an ephod, but it was basically like it was what they used to determine what God's will for their life would be. You know what I'm saying? Do we need to go here? Do we need to go there? And it was somehow it would with the way they would interpret it would either say yes or no kind of thing. So that's what the ephod was. So when he said bring me the ephod, basically he was saying, bring it here so we can go consult with God and see what we need to do with this confusion going on. There's a lot of confusion going on. I see the army melting away. People are dying. What is going on? We need to go to talk to God. So that's why he said bring the ephod, because they were going to go to God. So with that being said, point number nine, the ninth action item, the ninth thing you can do so you can have enough faith in your life to get the victory is seek God's wisdom for all your action. Seek God's wisdom for all your action. That's the thing. That's what you need to do. That's the ninth thing that you can do. Seek God's will for all your actions. And you know, I just said for your actions. I said all your actions. You know what I'm saying? The first thing that I do when I wake up in the morning, y'all have heard me say this before. If you ever watched any of my videos, I've said it before. And I don't say it to brag. I say it because I hope y'all to get y'all in the habit of doing it. But the first thing I do when I open up in the morning is I thank God for opening my eyes and giving me another day. You know what I'm saying? Whether I had good sleep or not, I thank God for opening my eyes and giving me another day. But once I thank him for that day, then immediately I say, guide my steps in my heart so I can get everything done I need to get done to get everywhere I need to be for according to your will for this day. So what did I just do? I just gave God complete control of my day. I just gave God, I got this new, God has opened my eyes again. I got this new day. So now I got an opportunity to do something for God today. So I want to make sure I use this time. Because a lot of us don't realize that every day is a blessing. I don't care what you're going through. I don't care how good it is, how bad it is. Every day is a blessing. Every day is a new opportunity for you to do something for God. And the only way you're going to be able to truly use that day, that gift that God has given you, is by making sure you're in his will. So that's why the first thing I do before my feet even hit the floor, I open my eyes, I thank God for the day, and excuse me, I'm sorry. Every time I drink water, I do that. I thank God for the day, and then I give him control of that day. You know, and doing that, I'm going to him, I'm seeking his wisdom out. Because my day, I can get into any kind of stuff. I can go drink if I want to. I can go smoke if I want to. I can go cheat on my wife. There's so many things that I can get into that if I don't have wisdom, I can get into these things. But because I give God control of my day, I let God control my day, and he gets me where I need to be. He makes sure I get my butt to work, and then make sure I get my butt back home. He keeps me safe while I'm at work because I give him control of my day. And it's because I start my day off looking for his wisdom. What's the best way? When I start my day off asking God, or requesting from God, give me the wisdom to have to use this time you give me in the best way possible so I can honor and glorify your name and build your kingdom. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say seek God for all your actions. So I give him complete control before I even take a step, before I even get out of bed to go pee. You know what I'm saying? Was to use the first thing I do after I get out of bed. Before I even do that, I give him complete control of my day because I'm seeking his wisdom for all of my actions. I want to make sure all of my actions that I complete for the rest of this day is in alignment with his will. And see, we have to work to get to that point. That's the point. And I'm not perfect on it. I still don't do it every day. Some days I'll be on my way to work and I have to think real quick. Like, did I thank God? Oh man, I didn't think. It still don't happen. But I would say I would honestly say, and this is not just being, about 97% of my days when I wake up, I open my eyes and I give it to God immediately. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because I worked, and it took me a while to get here. This ain't something that I just started doing it. You know what I'm saying? But I got to a point, I worked on it so much that it's instinctive now. Some days when I wake up, you know how sometimes you just kind of half wake up? I'm so used to doing it. Now it's so instinctive that even when I'm half awake, the first thing I do, I just start praying. And sometimes I pray, fall back to sleep, hit my snooze button, pray, fall back to sleep. And I probably say the same thing. God probably sit there and laugh at me because I probably say the same thing 80 times before I actually get up out of bed. But it's because it's become so instinctive to me that moment that I wake up and I open my eyes, my first instinct is to give God control of my day. I want his wisdom for my day. Because like I said, all of us get 24 hours. But, you know what I'm saying, all of us don't use that 24 hours wisely. All of us don't use that time wisely. So that's why I give it to God before I even get started. So he'll get me where I need to be so I can do what I need to do. And that's something we have to work on. That's something that you got to do once your faith is built. You know what I'm saying? We have to get to that point that where when the storms come in our lives and situations arise in our lives, we have to get to that point where the first thing we do is give it to God. You know what I'm saying? We want to be able to, you want to get to that point where it's instinctive. You know, it's so instinctive. As soon as something bad happens, as soon as something bad happens or something that happens that's out of your control or something that you weren't planning, as soon as that happens, you got to get to a point, you got to work on where it's instinctive because it's not going to happen naturally. And that's why I say you got to work at it to get it to where it's instinctive. Because, you know what I'm saying? Because our first instinct is to get into our flesh. That's our first. When something bad happens, or when something happens that's out of your control, or things might not go, or you might wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Hell, these days you might wake up in the wrong bed. You know what I'm saying? But when some of those situations arise, we have to get to a point where we go to God first. Because the first thing we always want to do, we want to go to ourselves, we want to use our own wisdom, and we want to go to our flesh. And that don't get us the victory. You want to get to a point to where as soon as something happens, you go to God. You know what I'm saying? You go to God first. You know, and a good way of thinking is y'all know this phrase, they've coined it, and it's become pretty popular over the last few years. But you know what I'm saying? You want to get to a point where when something bad happens, the first thing to pop in your mind is, what would Jesus do? Because, you know what I'm saying, like I said, you want to take it to God. What would Jesus do? You know what I'm saying? And if you get in a situation where you can't go to Jesus, right quick. Lord, this situation popped up. What do you want me to do? What should I do? And that's what you want to get. You want to get to a point where, you know, if that what would Jesus do will help you get there, that's fine. But you got to work on it. Because like I said, it's not going to happen naturally. You know what I'm saying? Because our first inclination, whenever something goes wrong, something ain't go the way we wanted to go, or like somebody then pissed us off, or if we feel they did us dirty, first thing we want to do is go to our flesh. And so you got to get spiritual. You got to grow spiritually. You got to grow spiritually to be able to fight that. Because you're going to always want to go with your first instincts, and your first instinct is to knock them out, do something for them. You know what I'm saying? If you on your way to work, you know, I'm talking about praying before I go to work, you on your way to work and somebody cut you off. What's the first thing you want to do? You want to give them the middle finger. You want to throw the birdie at them. You know what I'm saying? You want to wave at them, but only using one finger to do it. See, that's fleshly. That's the first thing we want to do. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what that person might be going through. You might be late, but they might be later than you. You supposed to be at work 10 minutes ago. They supposed to be at work 2 hours ago. You don't know what they going through that made them cut you off. Well, sometimes they just might not have saw you. You know, I've had time and I had to apologize to God where I'm somebody driving crazy or they driving slow. And I'm like, man, this blah, 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 blah. And I'm just there whining and complaining. And I pull up and it's just some sweet old lady. She barely, you know what I'm saying, looking straight forward. And I feel so bad. I'm like, oh, man. You know what I'm saying? I done cursed this lady out and called her everything but a child of God. And, you know, since she's just doing her best to stay on the road, you know. So you never know. But again, that's what the flesh is doing. That's why you got to get that flesh under control. You got to tame that flesh. And that's why I say you got to work to make it instinctive to when something happens that's out of your control, or something happens that you weren't expecting, or something happens that maybe take you out of your comfort zone. The first thing you do is go to God. And see, if we do that, we won't have the road rage. I mean, look how many people that are killed and things like that because of road rage. You know what I'm saying? What up, Jared? I see you here, man. Appreciate you being here, bro. I know you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. People treat people in trucks so bad on the highway. And I used to be one of them. You know what I'm saying? You see a truck trying to get over, and you know, these trucks are huge. They can't just jump over the lane like we can. So I got a friend of mine. Y'all heard me talk about him before, Brother Terry. He one of the guys that motivates me with soul winning. And he's always told, you know, he said, man, you know what I'm saying, we doing our best. You know, we trying to get y'all supplies to where they need to be. So if you see a truck and he got his blink on, man, let him over. Yes, it's gonna slow you down a little bit. Yes, it may take you a little longer to get there, but it's gonna take him even longer if nobody lets him over. So I've always done that, you know what I'm saying? But there's people that cut truckers off, pull over in front of them, and then some people even jerks where they'll try to hit them, they brake check them, all kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? See, that comes from flesh. And that's, like I said, that's our first instinct as human beings. The first thing we want to do when somebody makes us uncomfortable, when somebody messes up our little game plan, or when somebody throws us off, the first thing we want to do is jump in our flesh. And when in reality, we should be going to God. What would Jesus do in that situation? You know what I'm saying? What would Jesus do when that person cut him off? Just let him slide. You know what I'm saying? We go to a restaurant and, you know what I'm saying, you go in and put in your order and somebody mess your order up. You know what I'm saying? What do folks do? First thing they do, they want to get irate. They want to curse people out. And I worked at Taco Bell for years, man. And some of it's just unnecessary. Sometimes it's just an honest mistake. Sometimes they just got dumb people. I would say something else, but sometimes they just got dumbest working back there. I mean, they have it. They just got terrible employees. But sometimes it's just an honest mistake. And especially like with me and my family, because I have a huge family. You know what I'm saying? So when we go to a restaurant, or especially we go through like a drive-through or something, you know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, well, we ate Christmas this weekend. I don't know why I did that. My stomach was pretty upset at me for doing that. But we ate Christmas this weekend, so we had a pretty big order. You know what I'm saying? But they got it all together. But sometimes we have big orders like that. They might leave out a fry. You know what I'm saying? They might leave your chicken nuggets, something small out. You know what I'm saying? That don't mean you got to go in there and berate the people. These people making minimum wage. Well, I know they talk about raising now, and some of them doing, but they making minimum wage. You know what I'm saying? Just, you don't know what that person is going through. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what that person is going through. You don't have to be there. But again, my chicken nuggets missing. First thing you want to do is get in the flesh. You want to call and complain. You know what I'm saying? Go in there and curse the people out. And I'm going to tell you something. I'll give you a piece of advice. You don't mess with somebody that's making your food. Because we've had people that used to come in Taco Bell and just act a fool for nothing. And whenever we do that, we had this signal. We be like, hey, man, somebody's back. We messed up their order. They want it. Make sure when you make it special. And when you say make it special, just know, I'm not going to say what happened, but just know they got a few extra ingredients, and I'm going to leave it at that. But even with that is you know what I'm saying? That's the flesh. You know what I'm saying? That's the flesh. The first thing, and like I said, that's what we want to work to. We want to work to our first instinct is when we get in those kind of situations, is go to God. What would Jesus do? You know what I'm saying? When you in the hood dudes, you know what I'm saying? When I look at my folks from, I was down in Memphis last weekend for my aunt's funeral, and you know what I'm saying? And some of it in my old neighborhood, they really gentrified a lot of it. So it ain't as bad as it used to be, but it's still some parts that we was riding through that was pretty bad. The area my brother lived in was pretty bad, you know what I'm saying? But I just think about how many deaths and fights and lives have been lost, innocent lives have been lost because just some dude felt they got disrespected. You know what I'm saying? You didn't speak when you was spoken to, or when you caught eyes, you didn't throw the little, you know what I'm saying, the what's up. You know what I'm saying? Just, it's so many lives lost, so many fights, much violence that's happened over just misunderstanding. You know what I'm saying? Just because we want to jump in our flesh. Oh, that nigga stepped on my shoes, or that nigga, he disrespecting me, he did this or did that. You know what I'm saying? And woo, and next thing you know, they fighting and they arguing or they shooting. You know what I'm saying? So many lives that could have been saved over the. I forgot to put my phone on silent. I apologize. Hopefully the people won't bug me. But there's so many lives that could have been saved if people had that mindset, instead of going immediately to their flesh and want to fight and do things, you know what I'm saying, through fight and resort to violence. What would Jesus do? Let it slide. All right, man, I let it slide. I can tell you how many times, man, I've been disrespected and I just let it slide. And a lot of times people take that, that's meekness. And, and a lot of people take that for weakness, but it's not. So you have to be a very strong person to be meek. Because it's not that I didn't want to punch them in their face. It's not that I didn't want to smash them. I just thought about, what would Jesus do? What would God have me to do in this situation? And that's the mindset you want to get. You want to get to that point to where whenever situation you're in, you want to think, what would God do in this situation? Or what would God want me to do in this situation? Or like I said, like the phrase, that's not my phrase. I'm stealing it because, it's popular. What would Jesus do? You know what I'm saying? In that situation. It's the same with your lust. You know what I'm saying? You go in Walmart and you walk around Walmart and some lady in there and half her booty cheeks hanging out and titties popping out of the turtleneck, and most of these guys know they married or got a girlfriend, and what they do, ride over there and want to get a number, or I think they don't get numbers no more. They just add them to Snapchat or Instagram or something like that. You know what I'm saying? What would Jesus do in the same situation? Or a woman might see some dude, walking around with some tight pants on and got it on his gray sweatpants, and you want to go holler at him, knowing you got a man at the house. You know what I'm saying? You got to start thinking, what would Jesus do in this situation? And that's what we got to do. That's what we want to work on. And that shows faith, your faith growing when you can do that. Instead of giving into that fleshly desire, that fleshly pleasure, or that want to avenge yourself, or whatever it is that your flesh wants you to do, instead of being able to put your flesh aside and think of their situation from a spiritual standpoint, or what God wants you to do, that really shows growth in your faith. And but you have to work on that. Because like I said, it's not instinctive. You know what I'm saying? You go to work one day, you've been there for 10 years, and next thing you know, you fired out the blue, man, you're going to want to go off. You're going to want to go off. And a lot of people, we've seen the videos where people go into work and they get fired and they go off on a boss, and some of them go to extreme to where they went and shot the place up, go postal, which, what I'm saying, that term became famous because somebody did that. They went postal or whatnot. What I'm saying? All those things come from giving into your flesh. What I'm saying? Going into your first instinct of your flesh. You know what I'm saying? But you see, when you instinctively act out of faith, what I'm saying? You act out of your flesh. And this is the thing. When you act out of your flesh, a lot of times, like you said, it's usually our first instinct to go to our flesh. And a lot of times it might feel good to punch dude in the face, or to get the gal, or to get the dude, or to curse your boss out. It might feel good, and depending on the situation, you might even feel justified by doing it. But the thing is, what you got to understand is, and this is why I say to help your faith increase, once you start understanding that, yes, it may feel good, yes, you may even be justified in doing it, but it's not of God. You know what I'm saying? It's not of God. That's what you got to understand. We start thinking like, yes, this may feel good. If I do this thing, it may feel good, but it's not of God. And if it's not of God, you're not going to be victorious. And this lesson is toward helping you have the faith to get the victory. You know what I'm saying? This lesson is toward giving you a different mindset, a different outlook on things, so you'll be able to get the victory. And the only way you get the victory if you get to train yourself to where instead of reacting out of your flesh, then, act out of your spirit, then you'll get to that point where you can get that victory. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, talking about losing a job and want to go off on a boss. Y'all remember Chappelle, which used to be one of my favorite shows. He had this skit, the segment, it was called When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong. You know what I'm saying? And it was this guy, black guy. He was surrounded by all these white people, whatever. And the white guy just kind of said this all put like, hey, brother, instead of just shaking the man's hand, which I ain't gonna lie, I come across it all the time in the corporate world. You know what I'm saying? Instead, I go to shake their hand, they want to give me the apple or something like that. And it's weird, it's awkward, but you just, you roll with it. You know what I'm saying? You roll with it. You don't have to go into your flesh. You just roll with it. I laugh at it and I keep it going. But in this particular skit, the guy, he goes off, and he just started going on. And then he ended up, he had this, high executive job. He ended up getting fired and losing his girlfriend and having to sleep on his mama's couch. And there's a whole funny thing. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. See, in that skit, that dude, he acted out of his flesh instead of acting out of his spirit. You know what I'm saying? He acted out of spirit. He would just let it slide. He would, kept his position or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Let the meekness take over. But he acted out of his flesh, and he ended up sleeping on his mom's couch. And it's a whole funny thing. You ever watch Chappelle? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? And I can understand that. Because like I said, I got fired a few weeks. Y'all know I've been keeping y'all updated. And for those y'all been praying for me, I appreciate it. Got some prospects. Still haven't made a decision just yet. Hopefully next couple of days I would know something for sure. I know I've been saying that, but it's a good thing that I don't know something, because I had my interview last week, and I'm sure if they weren't going to be dealing with it, they would have already told the guys we're not going to deal with them. So I'm very hopeful that I'm going to get another offer from another. I got one offer already, and I'm very hopeful that I'm going to get another one. But you know what I'm saying. But when I got fired though, the day I got fired, man, I was pissed. I was pissed because, and it was like I said, because of the situation that I was in. This dude purposely did what he did. He purposely, sneakily, behind my back, did things to set me up to fire me. You know what I'm saying? He didn't come to me and be like, man, I need you to work on this. I want you to work on this. Now, he did give me a little list of things to work on, which I was working on, I was doing. But even though I was doing those things, he never, from his action and the things he did, he gave me those things to do, but he never intended on me getting them done. He never intended on, even had I got every single thing done, he's still going to fire me because of his actions. So I was pissed. So even though he said, you got a chance, he never really intended on letting me stay there. So, and everything he did was sneaky. When I look back over, everything was sneaky. So I was pissed. You know what I'm saying? Everything welled up in me, bro. And I'm telling y'all, bro, I definitely thought about punching this dude in the face repeatedly. We was in his office, and his door was closed. It was just me, him, and this other woman there. She definitely wasn't going to be able to stop me. And I thought about hitting him in his little smug face. I'm telling y'all, I'm getting mad thinking about it now. I did, but I didn't. You know what I'm saying? I had to think instinctively. I didn't curse him out. I didn't flip his desk over on top of his head. I wanted to do those things. That's what y'all can understand. I wanted to, man, every bit of North Memphis that was in me was raging, bro. It was like, man, get that digger. I wanted to do it, but I had to think. And like I said, this is why I say this what comes from training yourself to think in the spirit than in your flesh. Because my flesh was like, man, whoop dude. Like, he did you dirty. You know what I'm saying? Like, you dedicated 10 years of your life. This dude just came in from 2 years ago and don't like you on some other stuff. Like, get that dude. And I felt like I would have been justified. But I had to think, man, I got a family to provide for. I'm a professional. You know what I'm saying? The last thing I need to go on my professional record is that I'm the angry black dude. Because that's what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? I got to get another job. You know what I'm saying? Whether the ministry take off, I don't know if this ministry going to take off. It's going to be able to take off enough to support me. I'm most likely 9 times 10, I'm probably going to have to give me another job. Well, y'all know this is a Lost Sheep ministry. It's a small ministry. I get maybe 100 views, maybe. You know what I'm saying, on my videos. So for it to go, I highly doubt it's all of a sudden going to go viral. So I still got to support myself. So I'm going to have another job, which means I got to maintain my composure. You know what I'm saying? Now, I didn't curse him out. I did say this was some BS, and I said the actual word, but I didn't say it like, you know what I'm saying, directly. I was just like, man, what you did was dirty. You know what you did was dirty, and you know this is some BS. And I gave him his keys in his car, and I walked out. I didn't curse him out. I didn't get in his face. I didn't threaten to slap him. Did none of that. Why? Because I know I'm going to need another job. You know what I'm saying? I had to think. Because even before that happened, I was already, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I've been out there for 10 years. So I've seen some stuff. I've heard some stuff. You know, there was just one situation where this guy used to call me boy all the time. Now, granted, he was doing it to get under my skin. I know, because that's the kind of person he is. He liked to get under people's skin. So he was doing it to get under my skin. I know, but it was getting under my skin. You know what I'm saying? I'd be sitting in my office, just come by, boy. You know what I'm saying? Like that. And to most folks man, I can't believe you let that dude do, and you let him get away with that, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, and I always tell him, like, my brother, he was real macky, and that could have been me. I'm like, yeah, bro, and that's why you don't have a job right now. That's why you bounce from job to job. I got a family to think about. I got a ministry that I got to provide for. I got to continue to support. You know what I'm saying? I can't just fly off the handle and do what my flesh wants me to do. There's consequences for my action. I have to think about that. So I have to bite my tongue. I have to be me so I can continue to provide for my family. I can't let somebody else take food out of my mouth. So like I said, when I got fired, and even before I got fired, there was always some hostility toward not necessarily the company, but some of the people in the company. So when I got fired, they could have been in like, oh, it's my time to show my booty and really say what I want to say, been wanting to say, and really do what I've been wanting to do. I'm fired anyway. What's the wrong? But see, I got to think of my future as well. You know what I'm saying? I got to think about my future. I got to think about my ministry. You know, so what if I ended up in jail? What if I went too far? And then I don't think there's too many people there could have stopped me if I went on a rampage. You know what I'm saying? What if I went too far? Hurt the dude, killed the dude, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Anything could have happened. So again, that's by training myself to think instinctively. Instead of getting in my flesh and want to act in my flesh, I acted in my spirit. And what did my spirit tell me to do? Let it slide. Let God handle it. You know what I'm saying? Let it slide. And I'm gonna lie, it was not easy. I'm not sitting here like, oh, I was just like, God, you can handle this, and I walked out. I was pissed for about a week. You know what I'm saying? But as soon as I left out, I went, you know what I'm saying? They had to walk me over to my office. I got all my stuff put in the box. But as I was walking to my truck, I was praying. And the reason why I was praying, because not even an hour and a half later, I already had an interview for another spot. Like literally, I got fired an hour and a half before I had an interview. So I was already working to get out of the place anyway. I was already on my way out. It was just my flesh and my pride was upset because of the way it happened. You know, they got me before I got them, kind of thing. So of course that pride and that flesh wanted me to get my revenge, but my spirit like, hey, calm down. You know what I'm saying? Just let it slide. You already got an interview coming up in a couple of minutes. You know what I'm saying? And I already had a second job, so it wasn't like I wasn't going to be working, bringing no money in at all. So I had to swear all that through my head, you know, immediately, and it helped me keep my composure. Because if I had not done that, I would have probably did something that would have hurt my family. And now, because I did that, because I thought with my spiritual mind instead of my fleshly mind, guess what happened? I'm possible, like I said, I'm waiting on another offer. I'm pretty sure they're going to make it here in the next couple of days. If they do make this offer, it's going to be a better company making way more money doing way less work. You see what I'm saying? I'm actually at this company where I just left, got fired from. I was doing all the work. And when I go to this other company, I ain't gonna have to do none of the work. I'm just gonna have to manage the people doing the work. So it's a more lucrative position. I think I'll be making quite a bit more than what I was making there. I might have to move. That's the only draw. Might have to move, which I'm cool with that. You know, so I can still come talk to y'all. They got Facebook where I'll be at, so we can still do our thing. I won't get to do my in person as much anymore, but I can still do this one. You know what I'm saying? But that's what I'm saying, because sorry y'all. because I went in the flesh, I'm in this position now where I got, like I said, maybe a more lucrative position, making more money, doing less work. It's actually a step up from where I'm already at. So even though I got fired, I might possibly be still getting promoted because I did things the way God would have me to do it. You know what I'm saying? And oddly enough, I'm actually right now, as long as I get a job pretty soon, I'm actually in the best financial situation I've probably been in like the last 20 years, which is insane. Cause you think, man, you lose a job making that much money, so you'd be worse off. No, I'm actually in the best financial situation I've been in the last few years because again, I gave it to God. You know what I'm saying? And the most important part of that, the reason why, the most important part of that, me acting in my spirit instead of my flesh, the most important thing that I got from that situation is the peace I have. I have peace with it. Like I said, that first week I was in turmoil. Like I said, I was in turmoil. I gave it to God, but it took me a while because it's just like I said, I've been there for 10 years. So it was hard to just be like, oh, forget it. But man, just every single day I was working to it, like, man, forgetting it, putting it in God's hand. And then what I would tell myself, putting it in God's hand, I'm going to let God deal with it. I'm putting it in God's hand, I'm going to let God deal with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm moving on. I'm not going to put no energy because everybody was like, man, because the things that the guy put in my review that he said he fired me for, I actually have like physical evidence to show that everything he said was a lie. So, you know what I'm saying? Everybody knows that everything he said was a lie. Like, it's known. So everybody like, man, are you going to get you a lawyer and get you a case? I said, nope. I'm just going to let it be. I'm going to move on. Like, obviously, it was my time to go. My time to go. You know what I'm saying? And I put it in God's hand, and I've had peace. You know what I'm saying? I've had peace. And that's what we understand. When we act in the flesh, we might get that revenge right then and there. We might get that physical satisfaction, but we ain't going to get that peace. I got peace because I've done that. Like, it's been 6 weeks now. And y'all see, I haven't stopped my ministry at all. I haven't stopped soul winning at all. And y'all see, I'm still as enthusiastic about these lessons as I am what I was 6 weeks ago. Why? Because I have peace about it. Because I moved on from it. I'm not trying to, you know what I'm saying, belittle the company. I'm not trying to get nobody arrested. I'm not, folks like, man, you should call them and have the state go in and do this because they not doing this. I'm like, man, I ain't got time for none of that, bro. All that energy that y'all don't want me to put toward doing negative stuff toward this company, I'm going to put toward my future. I'm going to put toward my ministry. And people like, man, how can you do that? Because I'm thinking in the spirit. And again, y'all, this ain't something that just happened overnight. This has been I've been doing this for 20 years. It's been years of practice. And the reason why I'm able to do it because I've seen the benefits of doing so. I've seen the benefits of just letting it slide. I've seen the benefits of just, putting it in God's hand. Because I know God's going to take care of it. I have no doubt at some point, I have a feeling. I mean, it might not happen. But I have a feeling at some point this company going to come call me back. Because there's a lot of stuff I knew that you have to know certain things to get the work done. And this guy had no clue what he was doing. He had no clue how much I was really doing there, which is one of the reasons why he fired me. So I have no doubt that someday we're going to cross paths again. They're going to call me and be like that, and the ball's going to be in my court. You know what I'm saying? The ball's going to be in my court. And that's what comes with doing things the godly way, thinking spiritually, not letting your flesh get the best of you. Because that's what we want to do. We want to let our flesh get the best of it. And again, when you do that, you don't get the victory. You see what I'm saying? You don't get the victory. If you look at the minds, a lot of the spiritual guys in the Bible that always won, those men that we always use as examples, most of them, the reason why they always got the victory, the reason why they always did good, the reason why they was always blessed, the reason why they always got out of the situation they was in, because they always went to God first. Because in that spirit, it's strength that comes from having that spiritual mindset. And that's why I said you got to work on it. That's why the action item is work on it. You got to work on it. It's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? You're going to still want to get in the flesh. Like I said, I still want to get in my flesh. But I learned how to override my flesh by thinking about my spirit. How is this going to affect my ministry? How is it going to affect my family? How is it going to affect me? How is it going to affect the lives of others? You know what I'm saying? That's the mindset. What would Jesus do? And see, when you get that mindset, you may get the victory. And we look at, you know what I'm saying? And I know y'all probably get tired of me talking about these men, but they're just great examples. And this is why I'm always using them. You know what I'm saying? Because they did mighty things, these mighty prophets. If you look at all these prophets, all these mighty men in the Bible, and some of the women in the Bible, they always went to God first. You know what I'm saying? Take Moses. Whenever the Israelites rebelled, and God was getting ready to kill them all, you know what I'm saying? God, how many times did if y'all read your Bible, it was at least 3 or 4 times where the Lord like, man, forget them, Moses, I'm killing all of them, and I'm just going to make a nation out of you. And it was the first thing Moses did. Fell on his face before God. God, oh, please don't do that. Lord, if you do that, then the Egyptians going to laugh at you and they're going to say you couldn't take care of your people. And man, just think about your name. But the first thing he did was when, and even when they was disrespecting him, because you remember there's one time where his sister and his brother, his sister Miriam and his brother Aaron, they was why the Lord chose us too as prophets, why you getting all the glory, so to speak? You know what I'm saying? Why you getting all the glory? And what happened? They were sitting there running their mouth, bumping their gums. And what happened? Next thing you know, it said God struck Miriam down with leprosy. And that's basically a death sentence back then. If you get leprosy, you got to get kicked out of the camp. You can't be a part of the nation of Israel no more. I mean, it's a lot of stuff went in there. And what was the first thing Moses did? Fell on his face. Lord, please don't do this to her. Lord, don't do her like that. And she dumb. No, he didn't say she dumb, but he just basically like, man, look, come on, Lord, don't do her like that. And what did God say? All right, well, if a dad, he said something to the fact that if a daddy has spit in her face, she'd be kicked out of the camp for 7 days. So she just got hit with leprosy. She got to get out for those 7 days. You know what I'm saying? He kicked out of the camp and the Lord ended up healing her. But what was the first thing when they was in that situation? You know what I'm saying? He fell on his face. Another situation he got disrespected when this dude named Korah tried to take over and lead a rebellion against Moses. Same situation. God chose all of us. Why you getting all the glory? Yada, yada, yada. You know what I'm saying? And then the first thing he did, fell on his face. And he told Lord, you know what I'm saying? I did nothing, but you know what I'm saying? He was actually jealous of Moses and Aaron. He's like, Lord, I ain't done nothing but, worship you and did what you told me to do. And these folks coming up against me. So then he told Korah, you know what I'm saying? Hey, man, y'all get some incense burning. I'm going to get some. We're going to burn our incense. Y'all bring y'all. We're going to see who the Lord accepts. And what happened? When Korah got to burn his incense, the ground opened up. It was him and like 250 other people. Said the ground opened up, sucked them all down, closed back up on top of them. And then the other people and the other ones in the nation of Israel started dropping dead. There was a plague going out because everybody was murmuring against Moses and Aaron. And what did Moses do? Fell in his face. So he told Aaron, hey, go get some incense and run between the people. What the first thing they do? They went and got the wisdom of God, how to handle the situation. And that's the best thing. That's what we got to do. If you really want to get victory in your life, because the devil going to try to throw stuff at you. Haters going to hate. You always going to have somebody hate on you. He's always going to have somebody try to trigger you. He's always going to have somebody try to get you out of your path. And you can't let them do that. Because you let them do that, then you won't get the victory. If you allow them to put you to in a situation where you act out of your flesh instead out of your spirit, you're going to lose your victory. You know what I'm saying? We look at David. I know y'all probably tired of me talking about David, but if you look at David, everything David did before he went to war, whatever situation he was in, before he got in those situations, before he did, when he went to Goliath, what did he do? He went to God. He always went to God. Even when he had, there was one time he had already kicked these dudes' butt, and then they came back again, and he went to the Lord again. Like, Lord, should I go against them again? I kicked their butt yesterday. Should I go against them again? And the Lord said, yeah. Every single time these people rose up, he went. It was only 2 times you see where David didn't go to God first, and both of the time he messed up. And of course, we all know the one time with Bathsheba, and another time, a lot of people don't know this because they don't read the Bible. There was another time where he, for whatever reason, he took a census. He was feeling himself because Israel was growing, and he took a census that the Lord didn't tell him to do, and that got him in trouble as well. You know what I'm saying? But every other time, he always went to God. And like I said, the 2 times he didn't go to God, he got in trouble both times. You know what I'm saying? That taught him, hey, make sure you keep going to God. And the same for us. You know what I'm saying? There was another situation with this king. His name was Hezekiah. You know what I'm saying? He was a faithful man of God. You know what I'm saying? He was actually one of the good kings of Israel, of Judah. And Isaiah went to him one day, and God gave Isaiah a message that, hey, go to Hezekiah and tell him he about to die. Like, he was sick. I think he had a boil or something like that. But whatever it was, he was really sick. And the Lord told Isaiah to tell him, hey, you about to die. And so when he went to Hezekiah just got the news from Isaiah, which was the man of God, so he knew it was true, saying he's going to die. What the first thing Hezekiah did, said he turned his face to the wall and said, Lord, just remember me. Just remember me and all I tried to do for you. That's what he did. The first thing he did was what? He went to God. And what happened? Said before Isaiah even got out of the court, the Lord gave Isaiah another message. You know what? Man, he humbled himself and he went to me first. I tell you what, go back and tell him he got 15 more years. You see what I'm saying? He didn't whine and pout, oh, God, I did all this stuff. You didn't do nothing for me. No, the first thing he did when he got that bad information, he went to God. You know what I'm saying? Another one. Got a couple more, and then I move on. Another one, Daniel. You know what I'm saying? When the king was going to kill all the wise men, when he first became one of the wise men. And the king won't kill him because the king had this dream and nobody can tell him. What was the first thing Daniel and his brothers did? They said, Daniel said, hey, let's pray and fast all night. and let's see if God gives the answer. The first thing they did when they was faced with that situation, this life-altering situation, was they went to God. You know what I'm saying? Then a little bit later, when Daniel was actually told he couldn't go to God, because remember when he ended up in the lion's den, because the king made a decree saying that nobody can pray unless they was praying to the king, and Daniel was gonna pray to the king. He was gonna pray to God, so he went home and prayed to God like he always did. And what was going to happen? He was gonna get thrown in the lion's den. But what happened? He got thrown in the lion's den and nothing happened to him. Why? Because when he was faced with a bad situation, he went to God first. And you know what I'm saying? I got all these men. There was one woman. I was trying to, like, you got to give me a woman example. Esther. If y'all know your Bibles, there's a situation with this lady named Esther. She's in marrying a king. Long story short, there was this guy that was hating on the Israelites. He didn't like the Israelites, so he wanted all of them killed. He didn't realize that Esther the queen was the Israelite herself, or a Jew herself. He wanted all the Jews killed, and he didn't realize the queen was one. So, you know, in a situation where even though she was the queen, she couldn't go to the king unless he asked her to come to her. She couldn't go and see the king unless the king requested her to come see him. And if she did go see the king, you know what I'm saying, without being, you know what I'm saying, without, if she went before she called, you know, today we say don't come by my house unless you call. Well, if she went into the king's chamber or went to in front of the king and the king then requested her, if he didn't hold out his golden scepter, then she died. Like, you know what I'm saying, it was a death sentence. So when the situation came up, when her uncle Mordecai found out that all the Jews gonna be killed, he like, hey, you need to go holler at the king. And she's like, well, you know, the king I ain't seen the king in like 2-3 months. And if I go in there and he don't hold out the scepter, I'm gonna die. And Mordecai like, man, look, you need to either, like, God put you in this position just for this thing, maybe just for this situation. So if you don't go, if you don't think you're going to be safe because you're the queen, if you don't go in there to the king and plead on our behalf, then God is going to bring a victory some other way, and you're going to suffer because of it. And you know, she says, all right, I tell you what, you tell all the people, y'all fast for 3 days, and me and my servants, we're going to fast for 3 days, and then I'm going to go into the king. So once again, of course, we know the story. If you know everybody know the story. She went to the king held out a scepter, and the Mordecai guy ended up dying. And this ain't a story on Mordecai. We'll get to that a little later. But the point is, she was able to get the victory and save the lives of her entire nation and all her people, because when that situation arose, the first thing she did was what? She went to God. You see what I'm saying? They all got victories over the situation they was in because they took it to God first. And that's what we have to do. That's what we have to get to a point where that's instinctive. Soon as you get that bad news, soon as that person pisses you off or crosses you or do you dirty or soil your name or stab you in the back, don't try to get even. Don't try to get even. Don't try to, you know what I'm saying, go in, they made your nose bleed, go make their blow. No, just give it to God. You know what I'm saying? Give it to God. Get to the point where that's instinctive. That's your first reaction, is to go to God. And when you do that, you have so much more peace in your life. Your life will go a lot better, but more importantly, you get the victory. So the number 9 action item, the ninth thing that you can do that in this series that'll help you get the victory is seek God's wisdom for all of your actions. Not just something, like I said, the big, the bad, the ugly, whatever, all your action. If you go into every decision that you make, if you go into that decision thinking, what did Jesus do? I guarantee you, what would Jesus do? And if you do the thing that you know Jesus would do, I guarantee you, you will get the victory. So that was number 9. Seek God's wisdom in all things. So then the next verse 20 says this, says, oh, then Saul, and so it said, of course he was going to seek God. That's why the whole point was he was going to get the ephod so he can go to God and see what they need to do. But things was just so crazy, like, never mind, let's get going. So the verse 20 says, so then Saul and his 600 men rushed out to the battlefield, and found the Philistines killing each other. There was terrible confusion everywhere. Even the Hebrews who had gone over to the Philistine army revolted and joined in with Saul, Jonathan, and the rest of the Israelites. Likewise, the men who were hiding in the hills joined the chase when they saw the Philistines running away. So the Lord saved Israel that day, and the battle continued to rage even out beyond Beth-aven. So that's a reference back to number 8. We got to remember, the battle's the Lord. So you see, the Lord showed up. They had that earthquake. You know what I'm saying? We saw in the end of verse 15 where panic broke out. They had the earthquake. We see here where the Philistine army, they was killing each other. They didn't even have to fight. All they had to do was show up. And that's what that was the point I made in point number 8. With the last time we did was doing this lesson. In point number 8, if it's God, we got to remember it's God's battle. So all you got to do is show up. If you show up, you get the victory. And that's what they did. All they did was showed up, and they got the victory. So then we see Saul do something stupid. Now I wanted to get through this whole one tonight, but it's just too much here. So that's why I said I'm gonna clean it up next week, and I'll finish it up next week. So I cover the first point, then I got like 2 other points next week, and we'll be done with this lesson, and we're going to another series. But we see here he do something real dumb, and he almost cost him the victory because of what he did. So in verse 24, and I'm gonna read a good chunk of this before I get to my point. So y'all get y'all good amount of Bible in tonight. So he says, now the men of Israel were worn out that day because Saul had made them take an oath, saying, let a curse fall on anyone who eats before evening, before I have full revenge on my enemies. So no one ate nothing all day. Even though they found honeycomb on the ground in the forest, they didn't even touch the honeycomb because they feared the oath they had taken. But Jonathan had not heard his father's command, and he dipped a stick into a piece of honeycomb and ate the honey. After he had eaten it, he felt much better. But one of the men saw him and said, your father made the army take a strict oath that anyone who eats food today will be cursed. That is why everyone is weary and faint. My father has made trouble for us all, Jonathan exclaimed. A command like that only hurts us. See how much better I feel now that I have eaten this little bit of honey. If the men had been allowed to eat freely from the food they found among our enemies, think how much more we could have killed. But hungry as they were, they chased and killed the Philistines all day from Michmash to Ajalon, growing more and more faint. That evening they flew upon the battle plunder and butchered the sheep, cattle, and calves, but they ate them without draining the blood. Now, if you know your Bible, you know that's a big no-no. That's a big no-no for them to do that. Then he says, someone reported to Saul, look, the men are sinning against the Lord by eating meat that still has the blood in it. That is very wrong, Saul said. Find a large stone and roll it over here. Then go out among the troops and tell them, bring the cattle and sheep here to kill them and drain the blood. Do not sin against the Lord by eating meat with the blood still in it. So that night all the troops brought their animals and slaughtered them there. And Saul built an altar to the Lord, the first one he had ever built. So I'm going to stop right there. It's about halfway through the last little paragraph. I'm going to start right there. And there's 2 points that come out of there, but I'm only going to cover one because I'm almost out of time already. And I kind of figured that because it was, like I said, these are some good points. So number 10, if you want to be able to have enough faith to get the victory, then something you're going to have to do, you got to make a decision to only follow those that will feed you. Only follow leaders. When you choosing the people you follow in your life, when you choosing the leaders in your life, only follow those that'll feed you. Now I'm talking about spiritually. Don't be like, what? They bring me a ham sandwich. I go, no. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not saying go running behind any old person that throws a sandwich at you. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is most of these churches that they will have you starving spiritually. Most churches, especially these days, if you attend most churches these days, they will have you starving spiritually. Now they'll feed you physically. You know what I'm saying? They'll have all kind of fish fries and cookouts and you know what I'm saying? They'll feed you physically, but they won't feed you spiritually. You know what I'm saying? You go to these super mega churches, these Joel Osteen churches, these TD Jakes churches. Yes, you might. They have. No, I know. I went to one of these mega churches one time, and they had like a Starbucks in the lobby, and they had like a little cafe and restaurant in there. And I was kind of like, this is a church or it's the mall? You know what I'm saying? Like it was insane. It was huge. And again, they were feeding everybody physically, but nobody was getting fed spiritually. When I was in there, there was no meat to the sermon that was being preached that would have helped me grow my relationship with the Lord. So that's why I say make sure that you getting the people that you're following are feeding you. Again, not physically, I'm talking spiritually. Make sure you're growing because you're listening to them. You know what I'm saying? When you listen to the Joel Osteen, he's not feeding you spiritually. You know what I'm saying? When you listen to TD Jakes, they're not feeding you spiritually. They don't even use, most of the time, they don't even use the Bible. And, you know what I'm saying? And it hurts me to say this, especially about TD Jakes, because, man, I've seen some TikToks of him, and he says some stuff. It'd be good. I mean, it'd be some good stuff. And it'd be godly concepts. But I'd rather hear him talk about the Bible or bring those, he might reference, oh, well, the Bible say this and that, but he really don't come out the Bible. Joel Osteen definitely don't. You know what I'm saying? So they're not feeding. And like I said, you can go to one of the churches and you can eat good. They both have huge churches. You know what I'm saying? But they're not feeding you spiritually. And if you're not getting fed spiritually, then what's going to end up happening? You're going to fall away. You're going to grow weary. Like these guys, they weren't being fed. Now they weren't getting fed physically, so they was falling away. But I'm changing the concept. I'm using it as a different concept. I'm talking about you being fed spiritually. But it's the same thing happening. If you don't get fed spiritually, then you're gonna fall away. Because again, you look at Joel Osteen, you look at T.D. Jakes. Again, I hate to say about T.D. Jakes, but look at the scandal that he caught up in right now because he wasn't feeding people spiritually. You know what I'm saying? He got caught going to the Diddy parties. Now I don't know what he was doing at the Diddy parties. You know what I'm saying? But he was at the Diddy parties. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because you know what I'm saying? I don't know if he's a false prophet. I don't know. I don't know the guy. I don't know where he's at with his relationship with the Lord. I don't know if he was on the right path and straight away because the path. I do not know. I would not. I just know what's being reported, just like y'all. You know what I'm saying? I don't know the guy. He might be absolved of all the stuff he did. I don't know, but I do know he was caught at Diddy parties, and we know how Diddy got down. He knows some freaky stuff going on there. You know what I'm saying? And the people that he was leading are going to probably fall away because he wasn't feeding them spiritually in the first place. They was standing because he was a good motivational speaker. Like I said, Joel Osteen, that good motivational speaker, But when you got to understand, when you following someone and they're supposed to lead you to victory, which is to Christ, this is what they should be doing. They should be leading to Christ. Then they should be feeding you. You know what I'm saying? They should be feeding you. They should be giving you the word every sermon that they have, every time they talking, every time they preaching, they should be preaching the word. They shouldn't be no motivational speakers. And that's what's happened to our churches. Our churches have become places where they're just TED Talks. You know what I'm saying? They just TED Talk. They not, no, I haven't. I've heard of him, but I don't think I've really listened to him. I don't know if he got one of those as well, but I've heard some stuff about him as well. You know what I'm saying? But I don't get into all those big mega churches and all that. You know what I'm saying? Because whenever I want to listen to somebody, you know, like I said, they have good speeches. I've seen some TikToks of these guys, and they have some good speakers. It sounds good, but I'm not getting fed. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking, whenever I listen to a preacher, whenever I listen to a sermon, I'm trying to see how much are they going to feed me. You know, I'm looking for some truths. I want to lead that sermon hearing something that I've never heard before. I want to hear this sermon seeing the word in a way I never saw the word before. And if you're not getting that, then you're not being fed. Every time you listen to a person preach, you should be getting something from them. And if you're not, move on. Now, when y'all watching these videos, if you're not, I'm hoping there's nobody on here watching this video just because they like to look at the shine on my head. They like to see how shiny my head is going to be this Monday night. You know what I'm saying? I hope there's nobody here just because we like Brother John. He's a pretty cool dude. You know what I'm saying? You like Brother John. You know what I'm saying? I hope y'all are watching these videos because you're getting fed. I hope y'all are watching these videos because when you listen to these videos, you come under conviction about some things that you should be doing that you're not doing, or you come under conviction about some things that you need to stop doing that you haven't stopped doing yet. You know what I'm saying? If you following them, like I said, if you following anybody, you should be getting fed. And a lot of times we fall into this trap. We get these guys because they're good preachers and they put on these good shows and they make you feel good about yourself. And then all this stuff is well and good, but they're not feeding you spiritually. And if they don't feed you spiritually, then you're going to fall away. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're following them and they're not feeding you spiritually, then you're going to grow weary and fainting away, and then you're going to fall away. That's where backsliding come from. When he's like, man, this guy used to go to church all the time, and he used to do this. He used to be in the youth group, and he did this, and he did that, and now he didn't fall away. Why? How didn't he fall away? Because he was involved in the church that wasn't feeding him spiritually. So when the way got weary, when he was going on the way, he got weary and faint, and he fell away. That's why a lot of us backslide. We think it's just because we're horrible people, or we just can't get right. That's why I did that sermon last week, turning trash into treasure. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us think we just can't get right, or we just horrible people. We don't have this. No, we never was properly fed. I look at my life, man. I'm involved in white churches. You know, I'm involved in white churches, and I say that because I never thought I'd be in a white church. I grew up in black churches my whole life. You know what I'm saying? But I've been involved in white churches, and I would have to say for the last 15 years, I've been in white churches. Yeah, I started going to church about 15 years. 15. I've been in white churches, and I would have to say that I learned more in these last 15 years in these white churches than I did my whole childhood and my young adulthood in the black churches. You know what I'm saying? And it's because I wasn't getting fed. Now, the black church wasn't entertaining. You go in there in the choir and you get to see the outfits and the preacher up there and he like, and he doing all that and the singing and all that. And that's great. You know what I'm saying? Make you feel good about yourself. But I want some meat. You know what I'm saying? Feed me. And I realized I wasn't getting fed. I was getting entertained. And it's sad to say that most black churches, you go in most black churches today, you will be entertained. You might feel like you got some God in you because you feel so good. They make you feel so good because they entertain you so well. But when you really think about it, when you leave there, did you really get anything that'll help you build your relationship with God? I remember a couple I think it was sometime last year, I was traveling somewhere and we went to this church. And it was a black church. You know, the first time I had been in there, you know what I'm saying, in a while. And you know what I'm saying? And I went in there. And it was just like I thought it was black church, and they was singing, and they was getting down, man. They was singing, and they was praising, and they were praying, and I think it was kind of a Pentecostal church, so that was a little weird to me too, because they were speaking in tongues, but that wasn't even it. You know what I'm saying? They did that, and that went on for hours. We was there for about 2.5 hours, and I think the preacher, when he finally came up and preached, he preached for maybe 10, 15 minutes, and he didn't give me nothing. And I remember sitting there thinking, had I been a lost person and I walked in this church hoping to find Jesus Christ today, I would have left this church just as lost as I was when I came. And I was there for 2.5 hours. I was so pissed. It was the first time I left church pissed. I was pissed when I left that church. I was mad. Me and my wife looked at each other and were like, what the hell was that? It was entertaining. They did plenty of praising. They did plenty of worshiping, but they did not give me the word. They did not feed me at all. I was hoping to go there. It was the first time I had been to another church outside of my own church. So when I go to a different church, I get excited. I'm like, oh man, what is this preacher going to teach me? What is he going to feed me today? I didn't get fed at all. I left there starving. Now, I wasn't starving because I feed myself spiritually. I get in my Bible. But I look at it from, like I said, if I was just some lost person, somebody that didn't really have a relationship with the Lord and looking to start a relationship with the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Would I have been able to start a relationship with the Lord with what I learned that day? And I would not have. I would not have been. Because all they did was song and praise, and they had a one song that went on for on, and they just kept on adding into it, and somebody get to speaking in tongue, and they just kept on going, and I got nothing out of that. I got nothing out of that. Every time I listen to a sermon, every time I go to a church, every time I go there, I don't go there just to go. I don't go there just to attend. I want to learn something. I want to hear something that made me go, I never thought about that. That's what I go. When I go to church, that's what and if you're not getting that, when you go into a church, if you go in there and you didn't learn anything, like I said, every time you hear a sermon, you should learn something. You should be able to see something from a different perspective. Something you should, I remember this one preacher said, every time you hear a sermon, you should either be mad, he said, mad, glad, or sad. You know what I'm saying? You should be mad, glad, or sad when you leave this sermon. He said, if I don't make you mad, glad, or sad, then I didn't do my job. You know what I'm saying? You should feel some kind of way different than when you came there. Now, if you go there and you feel good because the singing was good and all that and they hyped you up, that's fine. But did you really learn? And that's what we got to do. We got to get to a point to where we stop. It's just like I remember when I first gave my life to God. And I really started listening to my music. Because that's something a lot of us don't realize. I know me and Ashley, we've had this conversation before because she's opened up our eyes to some new things. But a lot of times we listen to music and we listen to songs, we be our favorite song, and we never really listen to what they're saying. We just listen to it because we listen to it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us get caught up in that, and we do the same thing with preaching. We go there and we just send in the sermon, and then he gets it and all that, and he get all excited, but we never really listen to what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? And we don't realize that we're not even getting fed. You know, and I remember when I first realized that, like, why am I listening to a lot of the music? I was like, why am I listening? This is trash. Like, they ain't even saying nothing. Like, how is this even a song? You know what I'm saying? And we do the same thing with a lot of time with churches, and we don't realize. Though I said we're not getting fed. So when you backslide, when you fall away, it's not because you're just such a horrible person, or you can't get right, or you ain't got no discipline. You're not being properly fed. So that's what we got to do. You got to make sure that you're going to follow people that are feeding you. You know what I'm saying? Jesus understand that. Y'all remember when he fed the 5,000 over in the book of John, when he fed the 5,000. He was like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Go, and of course he was talking about physically, but he told us, hey, go into town, and different rendition, put it differently. But he was like, hey, I'm worried about the people. They've been here with me all day. It's about to get dark. They're gonna need some food. Go get some food to feed them, because I'm afraid that if I let them leave here the way they are now, they're gonna get weary and fall away. Weary and faint and fall in the way. You know what I'm saying? Now, he was talking about physically, but I think he was also talking about spiritually as well. You know what I'm saying? That's why when I do these lessons, y'all be like, why you talk so long? And I've had people like, man, you could have condensed that and, a little bit more and got a little bit more in. Like, yeah, but when y'all leave here, I want y'all to leave here full. When y'all come to one of my sermons, I want you to leave here full. That's why I take my time with it. That's why I put my all into it. That's why I do all the research and all that. I want you to leave here full. I don't want you to leave here and get weary and faint in the way. That's what happened with backslide. And see, Jesus knew that. That's why he told us, hey, go feed them. I don't want them to get weary and faint in the way. And when you're a preacher or you're in a leadership position, especially in the church, and you out here and you're preaching and you're doing all the hooting and hollering and you're not giving people scripture, you're not giving them the word, then all you're doing is setting them up to fail. You know what I'm saying? You setting them up, you're leaving them, they leaving your church, going back into the world. You didn't properly feed them. So guess what's going to happen when they get back in the world? They're going to get weary and they're going to faint along in the way. And that's why you have so many backslide. You know what I'm saying? And Jesus understood, and that's why he said, he was telling, because everything Jesus did, it was there was some physical repercussion, but everything he did had a spiritual repercussion to it. And that's why he wanted the people to be fed, because he knew if the people got fed, because they won't leave, they would have to, oh man, it's getting dark. It ain't like now we got electricity and we can just go to 24 hours IHOP or Waffle House. He knew that he wasn't done teaching yet. He wasn't done with the people yet. He wasn't done feeding them. There was still more for them to be fed. He knew that. And he knew that if he fed them physically, then guess what? They will stay a little bit longer and they can get fed spiritually as well. So y'all didn't think about that. And I'm honest, I ain't gonna lie. I didn't think about it until I started putting this lesson together and I started seeing it. You know what I'm saying? Because if you remember, he fed them and then he preached a little bit longer. As a matter of fact, in the next one, and see, Peter understood that as well. And that's why when Peter, and I'm going to read this to y'all, because he preached a little bit more. I'm going to read the second part, because he started telling them how he was the bread of life. Because he gave them physical food, but then he started, again, he always flipped it over to spiritual. And he started talking about he was the bread of life. And then some people got upset because he was like, you got to eat my body and everything. And they like, man, this nigga weird. Like, what are you talking about, eat his body? And then some people deserted him. So he told the disciples, said, well, you know what I'm saying, y'all gonna leave too. And what did people say? What did Peter say? He said, where else can I go? He said, where else can I go? You the only one that's gonna feed me, spiritually. Basically what he said. See, Peter understood that, and Jesus understood that, and Peter understood that. You see what I'm saying? That's why he said, in fact, I'm gonna read to you over, go if you want to read with me over in John chapter 6. What I got? Hold on. Lost some notes. John chapter 6, verses 35, and it's a little bit of reading, but I'm reading because I want y'all to understand what he did, what he told the people. So again, he fed the 5,000, so he was able to keep them there a little bit longer so he can feed them spiritually. So then once he had them fed physically, he got on them spiritually. He started getting them some more spiritual food. So I'm going to start in verse 35 because it kind of give you the crust of what he was talking about. So in verse 35, John chapter 6, verse 35 said, Jesus replied, I am the bread of life. No one who comes to me will ever be hungry again. Those who believe in me will never thirst. And of course, he was talking about spiritually. They didn't get it because they weren't properly fed just yet. He said, but you haven't believed in me, even though you have seen me. However, those the Father has given me will come to me, and I will never reject them. For I have come down from heaven to do the will of God who sent me, not to do what I want. And this is the will of God, that I should not lose even one of all those he has given me, but that I should raise them to eternal life at the last day. For it is my Father's will that all who see his Son and believe in him and should have eternal life, that I should raise them up at the last day. So what he was talking about? He was talking about the gospel. He was getting the gospel. He was trying to get them to believe so that he was trying to get them saved. So again, he fed them physically. He started feeding spiritually. So then it said, then the people began to murmur in disagreement because he had said, I am the bread from heaven. They said, this is Jesus, the son of Joseph. We know his father and mother. How can he say I came down from heaven? But Jesus replied, don't complain about what I said, for people can't come to me unless the Father who sent me draws them to me. And at the last day, I will raise them from the dead. As it is written in the scriptures, they will all be taught by God. Everyone who hears and learns from the Father comes to me. Not that anyone has ever seen the Father, only I, who was sent from God, have seen him. I assure you, anyone who believes in me already has eternal life. So again, he's going over the gospel with them. Yes, I am the bread of life. Your ancestors ate manna in the wilderness, but they all died. However, the bread from heaven gives eternal life to everyone who eats it. I am the living bread that came down out of heaven. Anyone who eats this bread and bread will live forever. This bread is my flesh, offered so the world may live. Then the people began arguing with each other about that, what he meant. How can this man give us his flesh to eat? They asked. So you see, he knew they wasn't spiritually strong yet. You see what I'm saying? He knew they weren't spiritually strong yet. That's why he was trying to feed them spiritually. You know what I'm saying? Even though he had fed them, they was all full from the fleshly feeding. So then in verse 53 he said, so Jesus said again, I assure you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you cannot have eternal life within you. But those who eat my flesh and drink my blood have eternal life, and I will raise them at the last day. For my flesh is the true food, and my blood is true drink. All who eat my flesh and drink my blood remain in me, and I am them. I in them. I live by the power of the living Father who sent me. In the same way, those who partake of me will live because of me. I am the true bread from heaven. Anyone who eats this bread will live forever and not die as your ancestors did, even though they ate the manna. And he said these things while he was teaching in the synagogue of Capernaum. Now, even his disciples said, this is very hard to understand. How can anyone accept it? And Jesus knew within himself that his disciples was complaining. So he said to them, does this offend you? Then what will you think if you see me, the Son of Man, return to heaven again? It is the Spirit who gives eternal life. Human effort accomplishes nothing. And the very words I have spoken to you are spirit and life. But some of you don't believe me. For Jesus knew from the beginning who didn't believe. And he knew who would betray him. Then he said, this is what I meant when I said that people can't come to me unless the Father brings them to me. At this point, many of his disciples turned away and deserted him. See, because they weren't eating right. He was getting the food. They just weren't taking it in. Now, this wasn't a situation where they weren't being spiritually fed. They just rejecting the food because they want the flesh. So he said, then Jesus turned to the 12 and asked, are you going to leave too? And Simon Peter replied, Lord, to whom would we go? You alone have the words that give eternal life. We believe them and we know that you are the Holy One of God. So you see, Peter got it. Peter understood that only Jesus could feed them spiritually. There was nowhere else they can go and get fed spiritually. You know what I'm saying? And that's why they followed Jesus, even though he gave them out. Like, man, no, y'all want to, I know this is weird. I tell you what, if you want to, if you can't handle this, then you can go and go as well. Peter said, where else will we go? You know what I'm saying? The only way we're going to get fed spiritually is through you. And that's what I'm talking about. That's why they followed Jesus. That's why even after Jesus was gone, they kept the ministry going. Because they understood they need to be fed spiritually. And they understood the only way to get their spiritual feeding is from Jesus Christ. And that's why they followed him. And we should be doing the same. See, Jesus knew how important it was to feed his flock. And that's why he didn't want them to leave and go and fall, weary in the way. And like I said, yes, I know he told them, I know they starving. But see, when he was talking to the disciples, he always talked to them fleshly. But Jesus, everything Jesus did had a spiritual undertone on it. He always did things for spiritual. And that's why he understood how important it was for them to eat. And that's why he didn't want them to leave. Because again, he saw that when he started getting into the gospel, they were still rejecting it. He knew they weren't completely fed just yet. Someone were, someone won't. So now the one that was taking in the food he was trying to give them, they stayed. But the ones that wasn't, that was rejecting it, the one that rather had the fleshly food, they left. You see what I'm saying? And he knew that. And Peter understood how important it was to be fed. And that's why when Jesus said, well, don't y'all want to go too? He said, no. He said, no, there's nowhere else I can get fed. There's nowhere else I can get fed. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that's why Peter ended up becoming the pillar of the church. Because y'all remember after Jesus died, he came back. And matter of fact, in the book of John, if you flip back over, I think the John chapter 21, you know what I'm saying? You remember he gave Peter that challenge. Matter of fact, I'm going to flip to it real quick. I'm finished. I'm almost finished. I'm finished with this. He said, he said, after breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? And of course, I ain't gonna get into the whole agape and phileo. That's a different story. I just want to put this point. He said, son, do you love me more than these? Yes, Lord, Peter replied. Yes, I love you. And what did he say? Then feed my lambs. See there, he wasn't talking about go and just start a restaurant to feed people. He was talking about feed them spiritually. Teach them everything that I've taught you. So then it said, Jesus repeated the question, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Yes, Lord, Peter said, you know I love you. Then take care of my sheep, Jesus said. Then he said one more time, he asked him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Now, Peter was grieved that Jesus asked him the same question the third time. He said, Lord, you know everything. You know I love you. And Jesus said, then feed my sheep. So see, twice he told him to feed because he understood how important it was. That's why Jesus, and Peter understood how important it was to be fed. That's why when Jesus gave them the out to leave, they didn't leave because they understood they was being fed. They wouldn't hang around Jesus because Jesus had money because he didn't have money. They wouldn't hang around so he can have fish fries all the time because they only happened to know twice. It happened with the 5,000. And there was another situation where it was the 4,000 that he fed with a couple of fishes and a couple of loaves of bread. But that's not why they was hanging out with him because he fed them physically. They hung out with Jesus because he was feeding them spiritually. And look at the work they did. You know, Peter ended up being the pillar of the church. So it's important to understand when you're following people, when you got these people in your lives and you following these people and these people be leading you and they supposed to be feeding you, make sure that not only is the right person feed you, you make sure they feeding you the right stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because if if you're not following the right person and they not following, if you're not following the right person and they're not feeding you the right things, then what they're going to do, they're going to follow the wrong person. They're going to end up feeding you some BS. And there's plenty of that out there. There's plenty of that out there in our own churches. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of that out there. So when you choosing a church, when you're choosing a leader, don't just go to that church just out of loyalty. Well, you know what I'm saying? This church, don't just go to church. I can't tell you how many people I can talk to that go to a church because that's their family church. That's the church my grandma went to. And that's what my church, my blah, 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 and went to. And my auntie went to and all on. So I go to that church. You know what I'm saying? Don't just do that. Don't just go there because you like the preacher. Like I said, with these men, y'all don't just come in here and let me run my mouth to y'all thinking I'm doing something and y'all just in here because y'all like looking at my head shine. No. I hope, like I said, and some of y'all have reached out, you know what I'm saying, and told me, and that's why I continue to do it. Some of y'all has reached out and said, man, Brother John, thank you for these lessons. It really do help my life. It really has helped me improve my relationship with the Lord. And that's the point. That means you're getting fed. And that's my whole point. Every time I do these lessons, like I said, that's why I take my time. That's why I try to spend an hour and a half with you guys every week because I want to feed you. I want you to lead these lessons thinking about something, thinking in a way that you never thought before, seeing something that you never saw before, learning something, growing your faith. That's the whole point of me doing these lessons, so you can feed. And some people get fed. Now my ministry's for everybody, and you older Christians might not get fed. You know what I'm saying, much from here because this is the lost sheep. My ministry's aimed toward people that don't have a close relationship with the Lord or working on it, know they need to work on. If you've been having a close walk with the Lord, you might not get fed as much. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not getting fed, just leave. Don't just stay here to help me with my views. Don't just stay here to help me feel good about myself. That's not doing anybody any good. Because I promise y'all, man, whether I got 100 views or 0 views, I'm gonna keep doing this. Because I know there's people getting fed. If you go, matter of fact, y'all know I was put up my thing about my YouTube at the end. You know what I'm saying? You go to my YouTube page, most of my videos got 0 views. Most of them do. You know, every once in a while, some of them got like 1 or 2 views. Some of them I have a good showing and I might have 6 views on it, you know, something like that. And I'm doing good then. But most of my videos on YouTube have 0 views. And guess what? I still put them on there. Because it's not about the views. It's about feeding the people. I put them on there with the hopes that somebody is going to be starving spiritually one day, and they're going to come across my video and they're going to get fed. And that's why I do this. So make sure when you go somewhere, when you're looking for a leader, when you're looking for a church to be a part of, you know what I'm saying, you're looking for a preacher, make sure the person the church you're going to, the preacher you're listening to, the person that's leading you, make sure they are feeding you. If they are not feeding you, then leave. Because if you don't get fed, if you're not getting fed, then what's going to happen is you're going to get faint and weary and you're going to fall in the way and you're going to backslide. But if you go, make sure you follow somebody that's feeding you, then guess what? You'll end up with the faith that you need to get the victory. So that's it, y'all. I told y'all, I got to do a majority of the one more lesson, y'all. Y'all can bear with one more lesson. I think we're going to get this Samuel finished up. I'm saying one more, then I'll be like, one more. But it's been a long series, but I think it's been good. And I think it's the point of it is important. Because like I said, I'm trying to feed you. I'm trying to give you what you need to know, the things that you need to do so you can strengthen your faith, so you can have a relationship with the Lord. And like I said, a lot of people reached out and said they've been enjoying it and it's been helping them, and I'm hoping so. Like I said, even if it's just zero, maybe one day later, it might be years down the road, somebody might come down and needing to be starving spiritually, and they come across this video, and it helps them get that faith they need to get the victory. But that's the whole point. So the ninth point, number 9, what was number 9? I forgot. I got the wrong mouth. I forgot. Number 9 was, I just preached it, so how can I forget that quick? Number 9 was seek God's wisdom for all your actions. And number 10 was only follow those that will feed you. And again, I'm not talking about physically. I'm not talking about those that's going to give you a chicken dinner or a fish sandwich. I'm talking about those that are going to feed you spiritually. So that being said, I'm going to end right there. I'm right on my time, right on the dot. How about that? So I'm going to go ahead and end my ending notes. Lord willing, next Monday night we'll be back, and hopefully we get to finish the series up. That's my goal, to finish it up, y'all. But again, I'm not going to rush it, because I want to make sure I feed you. I'm not going to rush it just to finish it up, I'm, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully because not a whole lot left. There's a couple more points left, but I think I can squeeze it in next week. But Lord willing, next week, that's what I'll do. But of course, as always, if there's anything I haven't covered yet, any stories I haven't covered yet, in the Bible verse that y'all want me to go over that I haven't went over yet, please inbox me and let me know. I can always work that into the lesson plans. Y'all saw what I did with the trash or treasure a couple of weeks ago. I can always work it in. But as right now, Lord willing, next Monday night, we'll be back, and we'll hopefully finish up this lesson on having enough faith to get the victory. Keep sharing the videos, telling people about the videos, again, not just to get my views up, but because you want to help other people get fed as well. You've been fed by it, and you want to help other people get fed as well. So please keep sharing the videos, tagging people in the videos, liking the videos, whatever you got to do to get this word out there. Because I think we are all spiritually. We can see that this world is starving spiritually right now, and we all need to get back to working on our relationship with the Lord. So keep doing so. Of course, if you're not 100% sure about your salvation, if you don't know if you was to die today, you go through that door called death, you're going to get to see Jesus on the other side. Please reach out to me and let me know. I will schedule some time with you to go over the gospel with you and help you make that decision. It's the most important decision you will ever make in your life. And of course, if you need any kind of spiritual counseling and anything of that nature, reach out to me and let me know. I will also set up some time to go over whatever it is you have, share whatever wisdom the Lord has given me, and hopefully guide you down your path to help you get the answers to your question. And for my Lost Sheep people, if you're watching tomorrow night, we will be meeting live. You know, it's the 5th Tuesday, so we got that extra one in. So we actually have 2 meetings in a row, and it worked out perfect, especially if I have to make this decision on the move pretty soon. I get to spend a little bit more time with y'all than I thought I would. So tomorrow, we definitely gonna meet tomorrow. So let me know if you need a ride. I haven't sent my text out yet. As soon as it's over, I'm gonna send a text out. I actually forgot about it to actually text me earlier. So Ashley, thanks for the reminder. But we will be meeting in person tomorrow. Let me know if you need a ride, and I'll be sending that text out here in a little bit. And as always, of course, like I said, this is a long series we've been having. If this is the first time you're watching the series, no, there's 8. This is number 10, so there's 9 others before. So the best way to find them, go to my YouTube page, God's Servant / Lost Sheep Ministries. Subscribe so you'll see whenever I download new videos or upload new videos or whatever you want to call it, whichever way you want to call it. But the best way is there, or you can scroll all the way through my Facebook and look at everything else I've been tagged in as well. But the easiest way to do it is to go to your YouTube page and look at them that way. So again, thank y'all for joining me tonight. I hope this helped y'all. I hope it bring you on the conviction. I hope that you were fed tonight. I hope y'all not just here just out of loyalty or just because you like me. I hope you was here because you was looking to get fed, and you're leaving here full tonight, and you're going to use the words that were spoken here to have a close relationship with the Lord. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pray so we can get out of here. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for watching over us. Thank you for this wonderful lesson. Thank you for revealing these things. I was praying about this lesson, and I wanted to go good, Lord, and I wanted to give the people something else, Lord. I want to give them a little bit of something, and some things you revealed to me tonight that I hadn't even seen before myself. And I know it's only because your spirit gave it to me, Lord. And I thank you for constantly feeding me and giving me the ability to feed others, Lord. And I know I still got to get my Bible reading in for the night for myself so I can get fed a little bit more spiritually. And hopefully I'll be able to use it for the edification of others in my world. But I thank you for this lesson tonight. I thank you for giving us the opportunity to be able to worship you freely, talk about you freely, giving me the heart and the desire to teach the people your concepts and your gospel and your word, Lord, and just hopefully give them the wisdom they need so they can have a closer relationship with you, so they can do the work that you have for them to do. We ask you to continue to watch over this ministry so it can continue to grow, prosper, reach out to the community, change the lives of others, capture lost souls of men. Be with me and all my ministry members. Give us all your power, love, and wisdom over any problem that arises that may keep us from doing your work, and just continue to guide us in the direction we need to go so we can do the work you have for us to do. We ask you to watch over this country as a whole, watch over this nation as a whole. Matter of fact, watch over this world as a whole, Lord. And I pray for the day when the world as a whole, we will humble ourselves, pray, seek your face, and turn from our wicked ways, so you may hear from heaven, forgive our sins, and heal our lands. Keep all our service people safe and protected, Lord, while they serve others, Lord. Be with all those that are sick and shut in. Keep your hand upon them. And you are the Jehovah Rapha, and touch from your hand can heal them, Lord. And I pray you help them feel your healing hand upon their bodies so they may continue to go forth and have the strength to do the work they need to do to honor and glorify you. Thank you for this lesson tonight. I pray this lesson and the Spirit touch the heart of all those that listen. I pray they were fed tonight. The Spirit were fed tonight, and they will use the wisdom that was shared tonight to go forth and build their faith and have a close relationship with you. Thank you for this opportunity to praise you once again. And we say this prayer in your wonderful Son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Thank y'all for hanging in there with me. Again, I hope this fed y'all tonight. I hope this lesson touched your heart and brought you on a conviction about some things that you may not be doing or that you need to start doing, or some things you need to stop doing. But whatever it takes for you to have a close relationship with the Lord, I pray this touches your hand, touches your heart, and give you the want to do so. So again, my lost you people, see y'all tomorrow night, Lord willing, and everybody else, next Monday, Lord willing, we'll be back, same back channel, same back time. But until then, continue to pray for me always. Pray for me in this job situation. I think I'm going to know something. We should know something. I know I've been saying it, but hopefully we will know something for sure by next Monday, and I'll let y'all know in what direction the Lord is leading me. But continue to pray for me. I continue to pray for y'all. And remember to always watch your back and pray. Until next time, I love you all. Peace.